side lobe is not exist in this RF pulse. That means the ideal RF sync function has the infinite side lobes, because a sync function has the equation like this, sine x. So the width of the sync pulse is infinite. That means there are infinite side lobes here, and the slice profile is not ideal. As I said before, the Fourier transform of sync pulse is rectangular shape. But for this RF pulses, the Fourier transform of these RF pulses has non-ideal scale pulse shape like this. So this RF pulse is less ideal than low RF pulses, because the side lobe is smaller than low RF pulse. Okay. That means according to the slice thickness, the slice profile changes. So it is a disadvantage of this method, right? So we have we usually use the different method to determine the slice thickness. This slide shows the side lobe effect depends on the slice profile here. So for this RF pulse, the slice profile is shown here. For the sharp and the broadband RF pulse, then the bandwidth is wider. Okay? And this ringing effect, I think you are familiar with the Gibbs phenomena. These comes from the Gibbs phenomena. So there are ringings here because the RF pulse width is finite. This slide shows the different methods to control the slice thickness. Just the pulse width of RF is fixed as a large T. That means the bandwidth is fixed, but the gradient slope is changed by applying the different gradient waveform like this. So yellow gradient waveform generates the yellow slope of gradient field, and the large gradient field, which is presented by blue line. So this blue line waveform generates the strong gradient field like this. So according to the slope of this gradient field, the fixed, because the bandwidth is fixed, so the selected slice becomes different. For the strong gradient field, the thin slice is obtained like this. Okay? So it just slice thickness is determined by the strength of gradient field strength. So it's simple, and there is no side effect compared to the previous method. So this method is usually used for the clinical MR imaging procedure. So usually we control the gradient field strength like this. Till now, I explained about the slice selection using gradient, slice selection gradient and RF pulse. But still, the problems remains because this gradient field is field inhomogeneity. As shown here, when the gradient field is applied, the magnetic field strength is non-uniform. Yeah, that means the gradient field is a very strong field inhomogeneity. Okay? That means the signal comes from the slice selection pulse sequence here. The FID should be appear here, but the field inhomogeneity due to the slice selection gradient here, the signal decrease very, very rapidly like this due to the field inhomogeneity. That's a T2 star. T2 star effect. Okay. So we cannot acquire data because the signal decreases very, very rapidly. The speed of decay is determined by the strength of gradient. So for the strong gradient, the speed of decay is very fast, more faster. Okay. So how can you solve this problem? So this slide shows the slice selection gradient effect. So ideally, the signal after the RF pulse and the slice selection gradient, FID should be like this. But in practice, the signals decay like this. Before the end time of slice selection gradient, all FID signal dismissed here. So we cannot acquire data here. Okay. That's because the FID signals decay due to the T2 star decay. All spins are phased out due to the field inhomogeneity generated by the gradient field. That's a serious problem. So to solve this problem, we have to compensate the field inhomogeneity using this compensation gradient here. By applying this slice selection gradient, the signal phase is in this direction. Okay, but for the opposite polarity of this gradient, the rotation direction is opposite direction. Okay, so the dispersed spins rotate in the opposite direction according to compensation gradient. So the spins comes together like this. So after the end of the compensation gradient, the spin has a maximum value of vector summations here. So how can we control the compensation gradient? Usually, the area of compensation gradient is the same as the area of the gradient pulse here. So, from the peak of RF pulse to the end of slice selection gradient. So, this area, if these two areas are the same, then the signal becomes maximum at the end of the compensation compensation gradient should be applied after the slice selection process here. So using this compensation gradient, complete slice selection process is done. So that's why we use the process sequence here. Yeah, here. So this is the slice selection, and this is compensation gradient. Okay. After this gradient, the FID signals becomes maximum. So the decreased FID signals increase again here. So this is maximum signals decays according to the T2 star decay. Okay. So, but T2 spin-spin interaction cannot be compensated by this compensation gradient. This compensation gradient compensates only field inhomogeneity according to the slice selection gradient. So this compensation gradient cannot compensate the T2 spin-spin interaction. So there are some signal difference between 2 times here. So the decay of this comes from the spin-spin interactions during this time interval. So to reduce this signal decay, we have to reduce the pulse width of compensation gradient. So I talked about slice selection process sequence now. So the remains how can you get the spatial information in the selected slice plane? So if we assume that this slice selected plane, then this slice means that the selected slice using RF pulse and the slice selection gradient. Okay. After that, we resolve the spatial information in this direction. So that means in this direction, it can be done using the readout gradient, or sometimes we call this readout gradient as a frequency encoding gradient. Frequency encoding or encoding gradient. That's the same terminology. The principle of readout gradient is already explained in previous slide, last class and today. And the other direction, spatial information is resolved by phase encoding gradient. So two methods are principally the same, but the method, the encoding method is a little bit different, but the spatial information is encoded by the frequency is the same principle. So this slide shows an example of how spatial information can be resolved by the gradient. This slide assumes that there are two objects here. One water in two water patterns aligned in X direction. So for the uniform magnetic field, these arrows means the magnetic field. So every arrow has the same length. That means the magnetic field is uniform in X direction. So two water pattern experiences the same magnetic field in this condition. So that means the precession frequency of spins into both patterns has the same precession frequencies. So the signal comes from these patterns has one frequency component. So FID signal has one frequency component and decayed by T2 star relaxation time. So, because this signal has a single frequency component, the Fourier transform results in the one peak of signal. So we cannot resolve the two water patterns from these signals. The width of this spectrum is depends on the how fast signal decay. So for the slow decay, the peak this signal becomes sharp. But for the fast decay, the spectrum width is wider. So the shape of the spectrum depends on the decay of FID signal. If the decay has the exponential functions, then exponential functions like this, that means the spectrum is the Fourier transform of exponential functions of FID. So we call this spectrum as Lorentzian shape. Lorentzian spectrum of Lorentzian shape. And analytically, we can derive the equation of this Lorentzian shape using the Fourier transform of exponential functions. So we can report the other text if you are interested in the Fourier transform of FID signals. You can report the other reference books. Using another condition that the X gradient is applied in X direction, then the two water phantom has a different magnetic field. That means the spins in different patterns generate the different frequency signals. So the received signal has various frequency components. So if we simplify the frequency component by the two frequency components according to the two patterns, then we will get the two frequency component signals here, omega 1 and omega 2. That means the Fourier transform of this signal has two peaks at frequency omega 1 and omega 2. So the frequency, each frequency can be considered as a different position of these two water patterns. So this peak comes from small water patterns, and this signal comes from the large wall of patterns. So from this spectrum, the peak position is corresponds to the position localization of patterns. Okay?
Is this the peaks difference?
Peak difference, the peak intensity, the difference of peak intensity. You mean? Yeah.
Is this one is?
It's a time domain signal. So there are some modulations of two signals here. So we can distinguish the two shapes here, because the two signals are sometimes added up, sometimes cancelled out, okay, in time domain. So we cannot infer the shape of these patterns in time domain signal. We have to perform the Fourier transform for this signal in order to get the spatial information. Okay. It's just a single component frequency. This signal has a single frequency component, but this signal has different frequency component. So in sometimes signals are added up, and sometimes the signals are cancelled out. So the shapes are a little bit complex. Okay. Yeah, this slide shows the Fourier transform effect of the signals here. So this is omega 1 signal. This is omega 2 signal. These waveforms are generated by MATLAB by myself. So this is a real signal shape. So if we add up two signals, the shape of added up signals are like this. Okay. So this is the spectrum of this signal, and this is the spectrum of this signal. So almost the same shape, but the position is different. This spectrum has located at omega 1 frequency. This spectrum is located at omega 2 frequencies. So if two spectrums are added up, then two peaks spectrums is generated. So this spectrum is result from the Fourier transform of these signals. This is a linear property of Fourier transform. Okay? So yeah, in this slide, only two located water patterns are explained here, but in generally there are so many points or pixels in real images. So if we there are n pixels, then there are n signals are generated from each pixels, and each has different precession frequency, right? According to the gradient. So at position 1, the spin density is assumed omega 1, and the precession frequency is omega 1. This omega 1 is determined by the applied gradient field strength. Okay. At position 2, the spin density is omega 2, and the precession frequency is omega 2. This is rho 2 omega 2, and so on. So there are n signals from the n pixels, and can be mathematically represented by this equation. And some using the summation symbols, we can represent signal like this. So this shape has the same formula with the Fourier series, right? This is just the Fourier series. So MRI signal, MRI system is a very well-defined Fourier transform system. So this is the table to explain this equation. So for each position, the signal frequency is determined by gradient field strength, and this omega n can be represented by Raman equation, right? Omega G R, right? So this is the magnetic field at position R determined by the gradient field strength. So we can calculate the frequency, Raman frequency, using the Raman equation right here. Okay. And spin density is the number of spins in each pixel or voxel. So the signal can be represented by this equation, because the signal strength is determined by spin density rho 1, and it has the frequency of omega 1. So signal, it has the signal intensity and the phase, right? So that's why this equation has like this. Okay, so we can get the spatial information using the gradient